So, Jana, we're talking about whether or not you should convert your Pinterest account to a business account from a personal account today.
Yep.
It's a question we've gotten a lot over the last, what, like 3 or 4 years?
Yes.
How long has it been?
Yeah. I mean, even longer than that. I'd say all 7 or 8 years that I've been in business now. And it might have something to do with my audience. I work with a lot of coaches and service-based businesses on Pinterest. So a lot of them are new
Yeah.
to Pinterest. And my course, much like your membership, is very like 101. Like we'll start at the beginning and teach you the basics in addition to some of the advanced things that I know you teach too. But I do a lot of
Ah,
basics in my course for beginners. So naturally, I get this question all the time.
yeah.
And I feel like even when we were in Clubhouse, we used to get this at least like once a day. If we had a lot of questions, one of them was always like, I have this personal Pinterest profile. They'll either say like, I love Pinterest. I've been pinning all my personal things for years, or they'll say, I haven't been there in a while, but I have this, personal profile with all these boards, and now I want to use it for business. Should I start a new profile for my business and have that in addition to my personal profile? Or should I take my personal profile and convert it to a business profile? And I understand it makes sense. It's like people think of
Yeah.
that as kind of the first step, and it really is for a lot of people. And it's interesting because it actually is kind of an important decision. So we're going
Yeah.
to try to help people make it today.
Yeah. Now, I know you have a blog post on this topic
Mhm.
that if you would like to include in the description after we're all done, you should do that.
Yeah, I definitely will drop that in the description when we're done if people want to do a little deeper dive on this topic. That's a
Yeah,
good
because I
place to
think
go. Yeah.
it is a very helpful blog post. I've read it a
Yeah.
number of
It's kind of
times.
like weighing the pros and cons of each of the two,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of options. Yep. Excuse me.
So with that being said, there really are a few main differences between personal Pinterest accounts and business accounts. Why don't we start
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like just 101 basics in case people who are listening are new, and then we'll get into like making the decision. But there's really four main differences between having a personal account and a business account. So yeah, so let's cover those. I don't know if you want to jump in and talk about the ones that you know, and then I'll add in what I know, but I think of four main differences.
Yeah. Well, the first one that comes to mind for me is a business account obviously gives you a set of tools that you wouldn't otherwise have. So
Right.
you get access to things like analytics
Yep.
and
That's
you
one.
get to put a website in your bio,
Yep.
which is the
Exactly.
purpose of using Pinterest.
Yep. So those are definitely like those are in my list of four basically is
Yeah.
analytics, which is crucial. I mean, really, you can't, run a business profile or measure in any way if you don't have the tools to be able to see who's saving your pins, whether pins are being clicked through, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, having your domain claimed does a lot of things. It helps. I still believe that Pinterest distributes pins from claimed domains more readily than they distribute pins that are just random that aren't associated with claimed domains.
Yep.
And then you'll be able to now sort your analytics so you can see the numbers that are related directly to your main domain. So if getting traffic to your website is a goal for you, clearly, you need to have those features, right? Your analytics and the ability to claim your domain so you can see whether people are landing on your website from Pinterest. So yeah, those are two of them. And then this is kind of random, but one thing that is different about business profiles is they give you that real estate up top. So if you
Mhm.
look at my personal profile, it just has my little picture and my name, but it doesn't give me the cover image up top.
Yeah.
And so that cover image is actually a tool that I really like to use to have like a call to action in it. So if you look at like my cover image on my Pinterest profile, same with yours, we have a call to action. We're telling people like what the very next best next step would be to learn from us. So a few years ago, we started noticing more and more people were landing on our profiles than ever before.
Mhm.
And so we decided we wanted to take advantage of that. And we're like, you know what? We're going to start using this above here to actually like have like a call to action. And then Pinterest got away from having us have that like collage that was showing up for a while and gave us the ability to upload a single image. So you don't have that single image if you don't have a business profile. So that's just like one little tactical thing that also sets a business profile aside. And I think that those are really like the three tactical things, I guess, right? Is analytics, claiming your business or your website or your domain, and then the cover image. But the fourth thing that I always think about, and this is in my blog, I was just looking at it, is basically just that the difference, like the intention is different. If you're using your Pinterest profile for anything that has to do with advancing your business in any way, you actually need to have a business profile. Otherwise, you would actually be operating like outside of the terms of service of Pinterest,
Mhm.
because they say that if you're going to use Pinterest as a business, you need to have a business profile. So for all those reasons, there's never really any good reason not to have a business profile.
Yeah,
But I get that question sometimes. And I think it's because people think about Facebook. Like some people like prefer to use their Facebook profile for their business, not their Facebook
which
page.
is technically against Facebook's terms of service too.
It is. Yeah. Yes. But we
Yeah,
digress. But yeah, so on Pinterest, it really doesn't work that way. Like it
yeah.
doesn't, we don't have those same considerations. So there's really no downside to using a business profile to promote your business versus a personal profile. You should definitely have a business profile if you're using it for business for all those reasons. So I
Yeah.
think that's the first thing to just kind of cover. Yeah.
So if I am trying to decide whether or not I want to convert my personal Pinterest profile or just start a new one, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
So I will tell you, for me, my opinion on this has changed over the years. For a while, I was really thinking like, okay, sit down and think about the pros and the cons, weigh the pros and the cons. And I still think you can do that, and we can talk about them a little bit. But I will just kind of like give you a little bit of a spoiler alert if you're listening. And I know Heather agrees with me on this. I think it's a rare situation these days that we would recommend that you start a brand new profile versus using your personal profile. There occasionally we might recommend it, but generally, if there's any way to use what you already have and convert it to business and start optimizing it so that it is in alignment with your business, you should do that, because the biggest pro, I think, to converting to a business profile from your personal profile versus starting a brand new business profile is that Pinterest will trust your account much faster. That's really
Yeah.
the big deal, right? Do you see that too? Oh, are you on mute?
Sorry, I was saying
Oh
hi
yeah.
to someone in the chat.
Oh.
Um, Beauty
Do you,
Energizer is with us today.
oh,
I don't know what her
oh
name is.
yes. I remember her from
Um,
Clubhouse.
yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you in there. Yay.
So my opinion is very similar. The only caveat that I would say there is if you are an avid personal Pinterest user and you just want to keep things separated, for the
Yep.
sake of just having that boundary. I'm a big boundaries person. The older I get, the more boundaries I really want to have.
Uh-huh.
I would say go ahead and just create a new account. Like the way that Pinterest works in general, even if you convert your Pinterest account to a personal account or you add a business hub, which is sort of what the situation is, and then you can kind of migrate boards over, you're still kind of starting brand new.
Yep.
Doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's just whether you have established boards and stuff on your profile, but you're going to have to redo them. You're going to have to hide them or
Yeah.
add new things. So if you really are just wanting a clean slate, I would say just start fresh, because you're going to have to kind of grind it out anyways on Pinterest for a while before you're seeing results,
Right.
just like anyone else. Now, the one pushback I get on this all the time, and I have to remind people,
Yep.
is, well, I started this account and it's about a completely different topic and I have 20,000 followers. I'm going
Right.
to lose all those followers.
Yep.
And I always say, well, what did those followers follow you for in the first place? And if the answer is nowhere near the business thing that they want to put on their new Pinterest account or that Pinterest account, they're not going to be interested probably in what you're going to be putting for your business. If you were doing
Right.
anime and now you're doing, costume jewelry.
Right. You have an unaligned audience there.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's not the alignment's not there, in which case I
Yeah.
would say go ahead and start a personal account. I'd love your thoughts.
Yeah. And I think
I'm
that's a great
sorry.
point.
I
Oh,
said that wrong. I said go ahead and start a personal account. I meant go ahead and start a new
a,
account.
a new account, right? Yeah. Yeah. I have a couple thoughts on that. Number one, the other side of that coin. So it's kind of like pros and cons on both sides, right? Is that
Yeah.
I actually, and again, this may come back to the idea that over the years, I worked primarily with like a lot of health and wellness coaches on Pinterest, because Pinterest has become this like hub of health and wellness and self-improvement.
Yeah.
Because people go to Pinterest, looking for things to,
And they look for
do and try to
positive,
improve their lives and
right?
positivity. Yep. But I digress. Point is that a lot of my clients and students over the years have come to me with a personal profile where they've already been curating a lot of things that are related to their business. Because what happened is it
Mhm.
was their personal passion and then they turned it into a business, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then you may want to look at your boards and think, oh, you know what? let's say you are a gut health coach. I actually have a lot of boards and pins about gut health because I've been curating ideas about gut health and, pro gut recipes and, research about probiotics and,
Yeah.
how to make your own kombucha and like, things that are directly and, indirectly related to gut health. So if that's the case, then it might really make sense for you to go ahead and convert your profile. The other thing I wanted to mention about this is that you mentioned that you could start a new profile. You could also think about doing what I did way back in the day when I started using Pinterest for business. I did start a brand new profile, but I started a brand new personal profile.
Mhm.
And that was really nice because I got a clean slate with my personal pins.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of nice in and of itself. And then I took my existing personal profile and I converted it to my business profile. So Pinterest trusted my business profile more quickly. Yes, I had to do a lot of work cleaning it up and pivoting it. And so that's the pushback I get a lot. You mentioned the pushback you get as the followers. I feel like the pushback I hear from a lot of people is, but I have so many boards and I don't want to make them all secret. And it's kind of like, well, I don't know, just do it. It's really not that big a deal to go through and make them secret. So what I
Yeah.
did is I went through my boards on my personal profile, which I was converting now to my Jana O Media business profile. I
Mhm.
made all the boards secret, or you can archive them too, but I made them all secret so that people couldn't see them and Pinterest wouldn't consider those as like part of understanding, who I am and what I'm pinning about and who they should show my pins to. And I can still go back and I can look at those if I think to myself, oh, where's that old meatloaf recipe from like 2011 or whatever. I can go back and I can find it. Wait, was Pinterest around? It was 2011 when Pinterest came out, right? Is that right?
And
10. So, okay. So we're good. I can go back and I can look at those myself, but they're not part of my business profile. They are part of my business profile, but those boards are secret.
yeah.
So that's another tact you can take is go ahead and start fresh, but use your fresh profile as your personal profile because it doesn't really matter from a business perspective how quickly Pinterest trusts your new personal profile. And then
Mhm.
you can use your business profile, especially, like I said, if you're someone who's been curating a lot of pins over the years that are related, to the thing that is your passion that has now become your business. So that's one way to think about it and one way I look at it too.
So what I did originally, and I know, people in the audience like to hear examples and how we make decisions. My first business was a mom blog.
Yep.
And my Pinterest account was my mom, my life. It was recipes, it was meal ideas, it was kids' activities. So it
Yep.
was directly correlated.
Yep.
And you have to remember 5+ years ago, Pinterest allowed you to convert accounts and it didn't actually add a business hub to your personal account. So the way that they have it now, it like adds this secondary layer on to your personal account and they're kind of tied together with one login. That presents a few issues for people, especially when they're hiring someone like me to manage the account. It's like
Yeah. I
there's
didn't
a
do that. And I still don't recommend that
no.
for people. So I'm sure you don't either, but go ahead.
Yeah, so it was easy for me to make that decision because it was just I was doing a mom blog. My Pinterest account was my pretty much existence coming into motherhood. So that made a lot of sense. But then when I started my Heather Farris site, the mom blog was gone at that point. It still was on the internet, but I just was not doing anything with it. I just started a new Pinterest account, brand
Yeah.
new. And
Yeah.
then when I started the travel blog, I started a new Pinterest account. And then a couple years ago, I tried to start a new Pinterest account for just the academy
Yeah.
because of the verified merchant thing in the Shopify store.
Yeah.
But Pinterest has some issues. So now I actually need to go and hide that account or make it like delete it or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So
So
I'm a big advocate for just starting a new Pinterest account, apparently, because I think I've started like 5 at this point.
yeah, yeah. So I think you can still do what I originally did, right? Which is just
I think so.
like, just log out of your Pinterest account, like literally log out and then start a new one with a new email.
Yeah.
And that's how I would start a brand new Pinterest account if I was starting it today as a
Correct.
personal account, because I wanted to start using my old
Correct.
personal account as a business account. That's how I would do it. I know it's not the way that,
It doesn't work like that anymore. If you want to convert your personal account to a business account, from what I understand and what I've seen happen,
yeah.
it adds a business hub onto the personal account. So there's actually two in your drop down. There's Heather's personal account and then Heather's business account. And
Right.
then you can take and move any boards that you want from that personal to the business if you'd like,
Hmm.
but they are not one and the same anymore.
Right. But it's still under one email, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So again, I would tell me if you disagree, because you're closer to it these days than I am. But if I had a client come to me today and say, I want to start using this profile as a business profile,
Mhm.
in addition to doing what we needed to do to get that person the hub, I would also say, why don't you just log out, log back, like start a brand new account with a new email that you can start using as your personal account where you're going to curate your own personal stuff.
Mhm.
Um, I guess like you're saying like you could just keep doing it on the personal aspect of that email. But to me, I would rather have them separate that way. If
Yeah.
that person decides to delegate to a VA, for example, they're not giving them access to their own personal account. So I would still do it that way. Are there any cons to doing it that way, do you think right now? Like just creating a brand new personal account with a new email that you can start using as your personal account?
I don't think there's any cons to that necessarily. You can always add yourself as a contributor to the boards that you still want to have access to on the other account as well. So you could
You
have
could,
like
yeah, if you really want to
board,
get fancy. Yeah.
yeah, between yourselves to still want access to those boards. You can still have them. But I think what and I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna test this because I'm gonna write a blog post on this and put this YouTube live in the blog post.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go off and test this, but I'm gonna see if you were to start a brand new Pinterest account and want to add a business or convert it to a business account. I'm gonna see what the process looks like, and then I'm
Yeah.
gonna put that in the blog post.
Hmm.
When that blog post is ready, obviously, if you're watching this live, hopefully the link will be in the description.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll just report back and I'll see what that process looks like. If it's even, I personally do not believe it's even possible to convert personal Pinterest accounts to business accounts anymore. I think you
You're
just
just adding a hub.
our only option is to add a hub
Hmm.
or log out, like you said, and start a brand new account. And you
Yeah.
can go one of two ways, personal or business.
Right. Yep. Okay.
So I'll report back.
All right. It sounds good. And then next week, we're going to be talking about a similar topic that people who are watching this live might be waiting for us to address. Because sometimes when you start
Yeah.
thinking about personal account, business account, what should I do? Which is okay. And people come to me with this question all the time too. Like, I have a business account for Pinterest, but my business has changed. So how
Yeah.
do I pivot it? Like, so maybe, for example, like I used to do anime and now I'm selling jewelry. Or I used to be a gut health coach and now I'm a business coach for other health coaches because I was in business as a gut health coach for 8 years. I learned a lot. Now I'm helping other health coaches start their businesses. That's a very common thing that I hear and see. So, what do you do when your business has changed and you've got this like, built out Pinterest profile with all
Yeah.
the boards and all the keywords that have to do with your old niche and your old everything? How do you tackle that? And so we're going to talk about that next week, how we recommend that you tackle it. Oh,
I'm excited for that conversation. Whether you should rebrand your account or not. That YouTube live is ready for you to notify yourself on the channel if you want to go click the little notify me button. I scheduled it yesterday. So if you do want to hear that combo, then it is ready for you to get alerts on.
yeah. And one thing we'll talk about next week that is worth mentioning in this live, in case someone's watching this one but doesn't, go watch that one, is we're going to talk about why it's so important to only have boards on your profile that are related to your business.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the pushback I get is like, well, yes, I'm a gut health coach, but I'm also a mom and I'm also a crafter and I have like, a lot of different things that I do in my life. Isn't it good to have like all kinds of boards on my business, my Pinterest for business profile to show that I'm sort of like a multidimensional human so people can relate to me and whatnot. So spoiler alert, no, it's not. Don't do that, in my opinion. I want you to have a tightly keyworded profile.
Yeah.
This isn't social media. No one's here to connect with you. Sorry, they're here to
Yeah.
find ideas for themselves that they want to do, try, or buy. And we want them to discover you when they're looking for things to
Yeah.
do, try, or buy that have to do with your expertise and what you offer. So we'll talk about that next week, but we'll really get into it a little deeper and like how to go about making sure that, you're not making this big mistake of having all these boards that have nothing to do with your business or having boards that have to do with your old business when, you've pivoted away from that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really topical conversation related to rebranding and this one too, really. But I talk about a lot of this in relation to relevancy, and I think we need to revisit the conversation around relevancy sometime soon. Um, I talked about it when we first started on Clubhouse,
Yeah.
but I haven't and I've sprinkled it in over the years, but I haven't really talked about it in depth again since. But it's
Yeah, it's
so
interesting.
important.
It is.
Relevancy.
And relevancy on Pinterest means something different than relevancy. Is it relevancy or relevance? Whatever. Either one. We used to talk about it a lot in terms of Pinterest, especially on Clubhouse, like you said. These days, when I talk about relevance, I talk about it more in terms of content strategy. Are you creating content that feels relevant to your
Yeah.
audience? But when we're talking about it with Pinterest, we're actually not talking about that really. We're talking about more of like an alignment with what's relevant on your account and on your boards. So yeah, that's a really good point. Maybe we should think about a new live talking about what relevance means on Pinterest again.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
Cool.
do you have anything else to add for this conversation?
I don't think so. I think, we really covered most of like the pros and the cons and the considerations that people want to look at when they're thinking about whether they should uh, you know, convert or add a hub to their personal account or whether they should just start a brand new profile for their business.
Yeah.
I think, I guess I'll go through this real quick. The main pros of converting your personal to business or adding the hub is like you only have one account to keep track of. You've already been pinning and curating a lot of content about the things that you were passionate about that became your business. If that's true, then that's a big pro
Yeah.
on the side of converting or adding a hub. Um, like you mentioned, if you already have some followers in your niche, that could help your account. But again, we need to question whether you do or not, whether that's really a pro. The main pros of keeping your personal account intact and starting a brand new profile for your business, you get to start fresh so you can be really intentional with your strategy. You can be really organized and streamlined. You don't have to worry about doing the cleanup work of hiding boards and all that kind of stuff. But the big caveat there, like we said, is that when you start a new account, it does take Pinterest longer to like trust your account and start really distributing your pins. So you'll probably, we can't say always across the board, but you're probably going to see slower growth in the beginning if you start like a brand new profile or when you
Yeah.
start a brand new profile. So it's kind of, weighing those pros and cons.
I really think that's going to happen anyways, because most people, just simply because of the nature of how people are starting on Pinterest, most of them don't start with us as their leaders. They start by just like getting started and they're maybe not doing things the way that they should be doing them from the beginning. So I don't know. I think it's just
That's
going to take
true.
people time regardless. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. But in the situation where they are using us as their leaders, I don't know, accepting us as their
following
leaders, following us as their leaders,
us.
if you are doing it the way we think you should do it and cleaning up your profile, listening to our advice, consulting with us to find out what to do, taking my course, being part of Heather's membership, all those things, or any of those things, um, assuming that you are, right?
Mhm.
I really think that, I mean, I've seen this and time again, year after year, when someone starts a brand new profile, or when I used to start a brand new profile for like a done for you client, it would take much longer to grow. Whereas when we started with what they have and we just pivoted it, whether that means adding a business hub, converting it to business when that was a thing,
Yeah,
or cleaning up their boards because their business has changed, I always feel like I saw faster growth that way than when we
yeah,
just started a brand new, out of the gate, brand new, spanking new account.
yeah. Kareem says we need more lives like this. And Andrea is beauty energizer. And she says, do you ladies have a
Andrea,
resource for about how to handle the automation of IG posts to Pinterest? I think
there's been
we
so much about that.
I think we should schedule a live on this. We have most of our
Yeah.
lives actually planned for the coming months. So maybe it's a conversation that I just need to have with myself and do some testing and see what's going on. I do know that Teresa, our friend Teresa, was testing it out this week as well.
Of course she was.
The only thing, Andrea, that you really need to be aware of is what we've always told you is not really a great thing, and that's pinning all of the pins to the same board. All of your reels, chances are, or your posts are not gonna be a fit for the same exact board, and that's the only way that you can integrate those from Instagram to
Speaking of
Pinterest.
speaking of relevance, that's a relevance problem right there. That's a
Yeah.
relevance problem on Pinterest is adding all of your, reels turn pins to the same board. Yeah.
And then they automatically link back to Instagram, which why would someone want to go to Pinterest from Pinterest to Instagram to see the same content? I would rather you actually use a third-party tool or even Canva to remove the watermark off of those, which you can do if you have Canva Pro for free. It's like included in your subscription. And then just pin them to the correct board and link them back to your website where you actually wanted them to go. Because chances are you put it on Instagram because you wanted to drive them to a third-party location anyways, which is your link in bio, your a landing page, whatever. You didn't want them to have to go from Pinterest to Instagram to your links page. There's too many steps. So I guess if you guys want me to do like a full video on this, I can definitely do that for June.
Yeah. Then the other problem is that you don't have control over like what keywords are being used in the pin title. And then the caption comes over just without any keywords unless you happen to use the keywords in Instagram. So I guess you could get sophisticated. And if you're going to start this automation, you could make sure you're adding the keywords to your Instagram descriptions. I don't know where they're drawing the titles from.
I don't
Um,
know.
but yeah, it's a little messy. To me, it feels like it's like any automation, like there's a lot of downside to not having control over the details when you're doing any kind of automation like that.
I'm gonna make a note, Andrea.
Uh-oh, Heather's making a note.
I'll talk to Teresa this afternoon too and see if I can get some links for what hers look like before I just go off and do it myself. But yeah, I can definitely add it into my June content planning. If it's not if you guys want to hear about it. It's obviously a topic of
I think people want to hear about it. I've
conversation.
been
So
seeing a lot of questions about it in various places. So
yeah. Okay. Well, we have other obligations that we need to run off to. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We hope to see you back next week. That video is already in the live thing on the channel. You can go get notified when we go live. We'll see you here next time.
bye, everybody. See you next time.
Okay.
All right.